How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the Zenko of the DC and got harem? Part 3. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. This looks like a good enough spot. Naruto jumped off Sigmus's back to land on a small clearing within a forest far from the city, with the phoenix transforming back to its chick form and snuggling into his hoodie. He turned around to see Starfire landing on the ground near him. "This is quite a quaint place, friend Zenko," said Starfire politely. "Yeah, this way no one will try to eavesdrop on us." Naruto sat on a fallen tree trunk and pulled his hood back. "So can you tell me more about yourself and where you came from?" "Of course, I would be glad to." Starfire took a seat atop a boulder and began to speak of her origins. Starfire spoke of her coming from a planet named Tamarin, where she is a second daughter of 3 in the royal family, with her older sister Cormander as the first in line of succession. However, her sister was crippled by a childhood illness which robbed her of the ability to convert ultraviolet light into flight energy, and so had lost the right to become queen, with Starfire being handed the right. Sometime later, they were taken to be trained by a group called the Warriors of Akara in the arts of combat, but Cormander ran away in the middle of their training, only to return years later as an ally of their people's enemy, the bloodthirsty race called the Citadel, who were able to easily invade Tamarin due to the information provided to them by Cormander. The Tamaranians fought back with everything they had, but it was a losing battle with their numbers dwindling and close to complete annihilation. Starfire's father King Myander made the bitter decision of offering her to the Citadel slavers as a way of a truce to spare his people from extinction. Naruto was angered at how her sister betrayed her people just because of a defect. Then he saw that Starfire was looking down at the ground silently and sensed the sadness within her with his sensing ability. He got up and went to sit next to her and placed a palm on her shoulder while having Kurama channel his chakra to soothe her. Starfire felt warmth flow through her and turned to see Naruto looking at her without his first mask on, giving her the courage to continue. The blonde ninja listened as Starfire spoke of how she had to endure 6 years of torture and sexual abuse until she and Cormander were handed over to a group of sadistic scientists called the Sions, who performed a deadly experiment to see how much energy a Tamaranian can absorb before exploding from overload, just to sate their sick curiosity. During the procedure, forces loyal to Cormander broke into the Sion ship to free her. Starfire took the Sion's distraction as the opportunity to break out of her bonds with use of her newly discovered destructive blasts of solar energy called starbolts. As a result of the experiment, she sought to free her sister who was in the same situation. But instead of being grateful, Cormander actually struck her down with similar but stronger starbolts and had her restrained to be executed later. "But I managed to find a way to escape from her and flew as far away as I could. Then I found myself in this planet, and that's when I met you, friend Zenko," said Starfire. Naruto was angry. No, he was enraged. He hadn't been this angry since the time he helplessly watched Pain stab Hinata before he called on the full force of Kurama's tainted chakra. He could hear said fox growling in anger at the back of his mind, as well as the dragon tattoos heating up on his skin. Few know this, but Naruto has a severe hatred for rapists and slightly lesser towards traitors. He clenched his fist so tightly that the grown nails dug into his skin to draw blood. How could they do this to her? She did nothing wrong to deserve this, thought Naruto angrily. Those monsters better hope that they do not encounter us, for they will have drawn their last breath should they do so, said Kurama. Never thought he would hate someone else more than Uchiha Madara. No doubt, but now we need to help Starfire, thought Naruto. Then he turned towards said alien who was looking at him since he was being so quiet for some time. "But I'm a bit surprised. People who go through something like that would find it to trust anyone at first glance, but you opened up to me very quickly." "Well, my people and I are very passionate people driven more by emotion than reason. We have a greater capacity for love than for hate, which is why things like strife or war hardly existed for centuries until this one. But we're also fierce warriors when the time calls for it," said Starfire, looking happy as she spoke of her planet's culture. "Sounds like a nice place to live," said Naruto with a soft smile behind the face mask. "So will you go back home after you're well rested?" Starfire's smile instantly dropped at the question. I cannot go home." "What? Why not?" asked Naruto confusedly. "If I were to return, it would render the truce ineffective and the Citadel would be free to attack tomorrow again. There's also the possibility that my sister or the Sions would try to capture me again. And my home is light years from here. It would take too long for me to go back. Even if I wanted to, I don't really have anywhere else to go." Starfire looked down again in sadness of not being able to return home without endangering her people. Seeing her in such depression made Naruto get angry at the ones responsible for all this, but he ignored it for now and began thinking of a way to help her. He came up with a plan easily approved by Kurama, and Sigmus chirped in agreement before calling out to the alien girl. Starfire, I have an idea if you're willing to listen," said Naruto nervously. "What is it, friend Zenko?" asked Starfire curiously. Well, since you don't have anywhere to go, I was thinking that you could stay at my place for the meantime until we could come up with a solution to your problem if you're okay with it," asked Naruto. This is the first time he's ever invited a girl to his place and trying not to insinuate anything improper. He waited for her response, but wasn't expecting her to tackle him to the ground with a bright smile on her face, then pulling down the face mask to smother him with kisses while pressing her body up against his and repeatedly saying thank you to him, causing the blonde ninja to blush. Tomato ratted a response. "Somewhere in heaven, I bet your perverted godfather is popping a bottle of champagne at the sight of this," said Kurama while laughing out loud. No, that is exactly what said person is doing alongside Minato and Kushina, who were proud of their son's kindness. "Shut up, Kurama." Naruto used every bit of will he has to separate himself from Starfire and had them stand up from the ground. "Alright then, just hold on to me and I'll get us there quickly, but brace yourself since it will be slightly dizzying." "Okay friend Zenko." Starfire happily wrapped her arms around one of his, pressing her fists against it, almost making him lose focus from the sensation, but he locked onto the Hirshin mark and warped them towards it and appear in the living room. Starfire looked around in wonder of the place before turning towards the ninja. "Welcome to my current abode, hope it suits you," said Naruto. "This is a nice place to live." "Thanks, now let me show you around the place and help you settle down, then tomorrow I'll contact my comrades to help us out," said Naruto. Then he gave her a small tour of the place and showed her how to use the things around, especially the bathroom. That was when he realized that Starfire had no clothes apart from her current outfit. "Go ahead and use the shower while I go out to get something, I won't be long." "Okay," said Starfire before entering the bathroom. Naruto created a shadow clone to cook a meal since he got affirmation from the Tamaranian that she could eat earth food. Then he put on a henge to disguise himself in his civilian clothes before rushing for the closest clothing store. It took some time and recommendations from the store clerk to get some clothes before heading back. He soon returned to the apartment and went inside. "Alright Starfire, I'm ba." Anything he was about to say stopped when he saw the alien princess sitting on the couch and watching TV while in the nude. She must have heard him come as she turned round to greet him with a bright smile on her face. "Oh, welcome back friend Zenko," said Starfire cheerfully. Then she noticed that he was standing there unmoving. "What's the matter? Why are you naked?" Naruto stammered as he spoke. "Well, my outfit was dirty so I couldn't put it on again. Is there something wrong?" "Well, it's that women aren't supposed to be naked around men or strangers in general and should wear clothes here," Naruto tried to explain. Starfire tipped her head to the side in a cute manner. "Is that so? Quite a strange custom, I'm sorry if I offended you." "It's okay since you didn't have any extra clothes, which was the reason why I went out to buy some for you," said Naruto while holding out the package containing the articles. Starfire flew over and hugged him tightly. "Thank you friend Zenko." Naruto turned even redder than before from the contact with her slender skin. "Why, you're welcome, how about you go and try them on in your room?" "Okay." Naruto waited until she was gone, then he collapsed to the ground and panted heavily as if he underwent a physically grueling task. "What the hell kind of lifestyle does her people have? The kind your godfather would have approved. I gotta say that you really hung in there since any other normal guy would have lost it," said Kurama. "Flattery will get you nowhere furball. I get the feeling that there's more to come and we're yet to introduce her to the league," thought Naruto. "That's true, I'm curious of how they would react." "Me too." Naruto got back up and went to the kitchen to help the clone with the cooking before Starfire returned while wearing a yellow short-sleeved t-shirt and red trousers with long blue stripes on the sides. He served up a dinner of American fried rice, tuna casserole, coleslaw, and ice cream sandwich for dessert, all of which Starfire found to be very delicious. They talked a bit more, particularly the rules and lifestyles of the earth before going to bed. The next morning, Naruto woke up from bed after smashing his alarm clock, then he went to take his bath and put on a fresh set of clothes, then went to the kitchen to prepare some for him and his tenant with Sigma sitting atop his spiky hair. He put on the earpiece and tapped it several times to open up a channel to contact the watchtower. He soon got a connection, and it turned out to be John who answered. "Hey John, nice to hear that you're back," said Naruto with a smile. "Yes, we were able to resolve the issue with Green Lantern and had returned last night," said John. "Cool, I'll learn more about that, but first I need you to call the others to the watchtower." "What seems to be the trouble?" "All will be revealed when we all gather." "Very well then, I will contact the others." "Thanks, I'll see you all later." Naruto ended the transmission and resumed his cooking. He served up a breakfast of ham and eggs, toast with a small plate of butter, fruit juice, and cinnamon rolls. He heard Starfire enter while letting out a yawn. "Good morning Starfire, glad to see you're up." "Good morning friend Naruto." The alien princess sat at the dining table and waited for Naruto to settle down with Sigmas perching on his shoulder now. He told her that he should only call him by his codename when in his alter ego. "So what are you doing today?" I gave a call to my partners a couple minutes ago, so we'll be meeting them later on, said Naruto. Okay. They began to eat the breakfast prepared with Starfire cheerfully praising him for the food. Naruto smiled in response, and Kurama teased him a bit about how proud he must feel about being praised for his cooking, with the blonde choosing to ignore him. Soon they were down eating and created a shadow clone to clean the dishes, which surprised Starfire at what he did before asking him many questions about himself out of curiosity, so he took to telling of the adventures he had during his younger days. Naruto was telling Starfire about his mission over at the Crescent Moon Kingdom, which he felt a sudden pull on his chakra and sensed one of his Hiroshin seal being triggered. It looks like they're waiting for us, so let's go. He got off the sofa while already donning his gear before pulling up his face mask, then the fox mask as well, with Sigmas nestled in his hoodie. I can't wait to meet your friends. Starfire in her outfit stood up and grabbed a hold of Naruto's arm, then he homed in on the seal and warped them towards the watchtower. Come on, they're sure to be in the control room. Naruto led her to the place, and sure enough, Superman and the others along with Green Lantern were all there waiting for them. Hey guys, hope we didn't keep you waiting, and it's good to see that you're back GL. Feelings the same, but who's that Tamaranian with you? Asked Green Lantern. Greetings friends of Zenko, my name Coriander from planet Tamara, though you can also call me Starfire, said Starfire politely. A pleasure to meet you, said Wonder Woman. Hello, said Hawkgirl. Whoa, what a beauty, said Flash, looking dazed. I'm guessing that she's the one who crashed into San Francisco last night, said Batman. Pretty much yes, said Naruto sheepishly. But would you mind explaining to us what the Princess of Tamarin is doing here on Earth? Asked Green Lantern with a small frown. Well, it's a bit of a long story. Naruto proceeded to tell the group of how he met Starfire, then she spoke of what happened to her in the years before escaping to Earth and meeting Naruto, who had offered to help her. Needless to say, everyone was shocked and disgusted at this. Diana and Hawkgirl were angered at how she had been maltreated and betrayed by her own sister. Flash and Superman weren't happy in the least bit. John's eyes glowed in silent anger, and Batman was as stoic as usual. This is going to be a problem if the Citadel were to find out that she's here on Earth and would try to get her back, and let's not forget about her sister out to get her too, said Green Lantern. As far as I can tell, Starfire returning home would render the truce null and void for those creeps to attack her people. So all we need to do is have her stay here incognito and problem solved, said Flash. It's not as simple as that, Flash. We could face a potential threat greater than the Imperium if the Citadel were to learn of her presence here. Then we just have to make that they don't know she's here, and we would be prepared for them if they do find out. She's safer with us here than anywhere else, said Hawkgirl. Even so, we would need someone to keep an eye on her most of the time. The candidate will be Zenko since she's most attuned with you, but we would need to set up an identity for her, said Batman. I'm okay with that, said Naruto with Starfire smiling happily at him. She was feeling rather nervously about all this, but is now joyful at how many want to help her. I can also show her the ropes of how we do things around here. Okay Zenko, we'll be leaving her in your care, though we will be checking in from time to time, said Superman, getting a thumbs up from the shinobi. Thank you very much for your kindness. I will never forget what you have done for me, said Starfire while bowing to them. No need for thanks, we're more than happy to help, said Wonder Woman with a sisterly smile. Yeah, what she said. Flash spoke up with a smirk. Afterwards Starfire took the time to get to know the heroes, while Naruto had a small talk with Batman and Superman concerning a few things, and also vouched for the alien princess's story, due to his ability to detect lies which links to negative emotions. Naruto also brought up the topic of whether Wonder Woman has a civilian identity to get around. Batman offered to create one for her, as well as another for Starfire, which will be ready in a couple of days. Hawkgirl and Diana were having a conversation with Starfire and learnt that she was well trained in terms of combat, which perked their desire to spar with her in good time. Of course Flash was trying many ways to impress her, which was nothing more than baby steps in his case. A few days later, after the League had given Starfire the go-ahead to stay on Earth, she had been working alongside Naruto in crime fighting. Her debut was rather interesting to say. The duo were involved in stopping bank robbery with the thieves and hostages, gawking at the beauty of the alien princess, with Naruto simply shaking his head before proceeding to detain the criminals with her helping out. Naruto took the time to advise Starfire on the dos and don'ts in crime fighting, with times allowing her to go solo, though he cautioned her not to reveal his identity to the others until otherwise. The media was buzzing with news about the new heroine, with many speculating that she and Zenko could be more than partners, something Flash and Kurama would use to tease the ninja who would threaten them with pranks. Starfire got along with the other League members, especially Wonder Woman and Hawkgirl, though not so much with Batman, John and Green Lantern, given that they don't really express themselves that much. Superman had also introduced Supergirl to her sometime later, but the latter would feel a bit jealous whenever Starfire places herself very close to Naruto if he was present. At the moment, Naruto was currently in a bookstore while dressed in his civilian clothes and browsing through the bookshelves in search of something with Kurama being forced to sit outside, much to the Bijuu's chagrin. Naruto took out a folded map of San Francisco, then he looked through the bookshelves to look for something else in addition, and found it too. The blonde heard Kurama's voice speak through his mind. "So why are we here again?" asked Kurama. "I'm thinking of finding a place which I can set up as a base. It will make things easier for us, instead of having to frequent between the watchtower and home." Naruto unfolded the map and looked through it for a few moments before something caught his eye. A clock tower, huh? Is that the only reason? I also need to find a second job aside from being an author to rack up on some cash too. Not so surprising, considering that the roommate has an appetite akin to that of an Akamichi, said Kurama, causing Naruto to chuckle in amusement at the comment. He took the map and magazine and checked out at the counter before leaving the bookshop with Kurama hopping up to his shoulders. He was browsing through the job list on the magazine and so wasn't exactly paying attention to where he was going, which resulted in him bumping into someone. He looked down to see a teenage girl with long auburn hair tied into a ponytail, wearing a white t-shirt with yellow stripes, a black skirt reaching past her knees, and a pair of black high-heeled shoes. "Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I should have watched where I was going," said Naruto apologetically before stretching out a hand to help her up from the ground. The girl rubbed her backside to ease off the pain to look at whom she had bumped into to see that he is a man with red hair and dressed in casual clothing with his hand held out to her while looking apologetic. "It's no biggie, should have watched where I was going too." She grabbed her purse nearby before taking his hand to be lifted to a standing position, "Although I would like to know the name of the guy I ran into." "My name's Menmanami Kazi, and this is my buddy Kit," Naruto introduced himself, and Kurama, who was a bit miffed at the name, but shrugged it off. "And my name's Barbara Gordon, nice to meet you too. So what were you doing that you couldn't pay attention to the road?" asked Barbara jokingly. "I was kinda looking through a job list to find some work," said Naruto sheepishly. "What a coincidence, I'm here also because of work, got an internship in a company and came all the way from Gotham." "That's pretty cool, I wish you luck on it," said Naruto with a foxy grin. "Same here, hope to see you around since I'll be here for a while." Barbara walked away though couldn't help but looked at the redeed. What a cutie, maybe being sent here won't be so bad after all. Naruto made his way back to the apartment and took the elevator to his floor and went inside to find Starfire playing with Sigmas in the living room before they turned to see Naruto and Kurama, then greeted them with the phoenix flying over to nestle on Naruto's now spiky hair. "Welcome back, friend Naruto," said Starfire happily. "Thanks, Kori-chan. Anything happen while we were gone?" asked Naruto while going to the kitchen to pop open a bottle of ginger pop from the fridge and drinking it. "I was having some fun with Sigmas and we watched a funny show on TV. What about you?" "I was just checking something in the bookstore and planning on searching for places where I can set up a base here in San Francisco. I'm just resting for a bit before exploring as Zenko," Naruto explained. "That sounds interesting, can I come with you?" asked Starfire curiously. Naruto was about to answer when his earpiece started beeping to signal that he was being contacted and tapped on it to answer. "Zenko here, what's up?" "Zenko, this is Superman, we've received NSOs from a submarine called the USS Defiant and are en route to assist. But we might need your help just in case," said Superman. "Roger that, I'll suit up and be there in a yellow flash." Naruto dashed to his room and quickly put on his gear. "Are you going somewhere, friend Naruto?" asked Starfire. "Yeah, there's an emergency and Superman's calling me for help so I'm heading over to lend it." Naruto emerged from the room while putting on his kitsune mask. "Can I ask if you can watch over the city in my place until I get back?" "Of course, I don't mind. Just be safe." Naruto responded with a thumbs up as Kurama hopped onto his shoulder before homing in on the Hirshin marker and warping towards it to join Superman and the others for this mission. Over the raging waves of the sea where a thunderstorm is occurring, we find the Javelin flying overhead at high speed towards Enso's call. On board were Superman, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern, who were currently available to respond to the SOS. There was a flash of yellow light before it dissipated to reveal Naruto in his Zenko gear as he took a seat before calling out to the others. "Hey guys, I'm here now. Care to bring me up to speed about what's going on?" asked Naruto attentively. "We're responding to Enso's call from one of the military submarine, the USS Defiant, which is currently immobilized underwater and are en route to assist," said Green Lantern. "Underwater, huh? Guess Sigmas can't help out with this one," Naruto muttered with said Phoenix feeling a little down at not being able to help the blonde. "Get ready, we're about to dive in," said Wonder Woman. Green Lantern steered the Javelin to go underwater as it automatically went into scuba mode and they began their search for the stranded submarine. The radar was currently beeping to signal the location of the submarine just ahead of them. "I've locked onto their distress signal, we're getting close." Superman leaned over to point something ahead of them with a frown on his face. "We're not the only ones, we've got company." They all looked ahead to see what appears to be a submarine which is colossal in size compared to the Javelin, and the design is rather unfamiliar to any of them sans Superman. The question now is who are they and what do they want? Suddenly one of the ship's turrets took aim at them and fired. Not for long, everyone hold on. Green Lantern steered the Javelin to evade the first pair of shots and maneuvered underneath the ship in order to get away from it, but the ship turned round to give chase while firing more shots at them. Green Lantern skillfully evaded the shots and managed to lure the ship into an underwater valley for it to end up wedging itself in place. Lost M. Nice driving GL. Said Naruto with a smile behind his mask, but it soon dropped with what he and the others saw ahead. There's 2 more of these ships. Give us a break here. Green Lantern had to maneuver away from these ships as well to avoid getting shot down. No time for complaining, Zenko. Those sailors won't even have a prayer if we keep playing cat and mouse. Superman opened up a compartment overhead and put on an oxygen mask with Wonder Woman doing the same, while Naruto activated a water jutsu, which enables him to breathe underwater, before everyone exited from the Javelin to engage their current opponents. Superman veered from left to right to avoid, while Wonder Woman deflected them with her bracers before the former reached the turret underneath the ship and punched it hard enough to completely arrest its functionality before ripping it off. Naruto summoned several chakra chains from his back and mentally commanded them to deflect the incoming projectiles fired at him before launching a chakra chain to embed itself on one of the ships and pulled himself over to latch onto the side with chakra channeled through his feet. He fired yet another chain, except that he channeled wind chakra through it to grant it a cutting edge as he swung to slice through the front bow of the ship like knife through butter and flushing the crew out of it. Green Lantern fired a beam from his ring to pierce through the other ship and slice it halfway. Superman and Wonder Woman used their strength to push both ships to slam into each other. Naruto summoned Gunshin into his hand and stabbed it onto the ship's hulls before running along it to create a huge gap which drove the crew out of it, with Green Lantern doing the same for the other one, resulting in both ships crashing onto the seabed and exploding with the heroes swimming away when a voice suddenly called out to them. Halt. They looked to see yet more of the ships and this time soldiers riding atop some sort of water bikes, and the one who called that out was a blonde-haired man dressed in regal clothing and wielded a golden trident. Naruto was feeling the vibes of royalty coming from this man. You have violated the sovereign borders of Atlantis, leave at once or you will be destroyed. We apologize for the intrusion, Aquaman, but we were responding to a call for help. Superman pointed at the submarine. They should have stayed on the surface where they belong, said Aquaman stoically. Naruto frowned at that statement, which means that you were the ones who attacked the sub to begin with. He heard Kurama growl in agreement. Please, those men will drown at this rate, said Wonder Woman, in hopes of changing the king's mind. Aquaman was silent for a moment before speaking once more. Take the crew, but the vessel stays. That statement did not sit well with them, and Green Lantern was more vocal about it. No way. That's a nuclear sub. If you think we're going to walk away and leave it. What makes you think you have a choice? Green Lantern got angrier and was about to confront him physically, but Superman stopped him. He's right, time's running out for the crew. Yeah, they're our top priority, said Naruto despite not liking the current situation. Green Lantern complied with great reluctance and went with the others to help the crewmen of the submarine with use of his ring before rising back up to the surface and carrying them back to the mainland. Wonder Woman piloted Javelin out of the ocean to follow with Sigmas keeping her company, while Naruto and Superman rose back up to the surface with Aquaman and his soldiers having followed them. You know, all this could have been avoided, said Superman. How? Asked Aquaman. Come and air your grievances to the world's assembly, negotiate for peace. The king frowned at that. You'd have me crawl to them like some beggar. No, stand before them like a king. He's right, I can understand your desire to protect your kingdom, and war is the last thing you want. Negotiating with the leaders is a sure way of avoiding any potential issue between us, said Naruto as he stood atop the water, mildly surprising the Atlanteans. Naruto warped back to the Javelin, while Superman flew to catch up with the others, leaving behind Aquaman to think about what they said. Deep within the ocean at the very bottom of the seabed lies a majestic city encased within a colossal but protective dome, which is none other than the city Atlantis ruled by Aquaman. Said person is currently located in the throne room of his castle, where he is having a discussion with one of his militants, with his brother Orm standing by his side. I say that the surface dwellers are barbarians, they sail their weapons across our seas and pollute our oceans with their garbage. There's only one way to ensure Atlantis' safety, and my troops are prepared to take action, said the general. What sort of action? Asked Aquaman. We have the technology to wipe them off the face of the earth, just give the order. General Brack, I decide policy here, not you. But how much longer must we endure these affronts? Surely you realize that now is the perf. Orm interrupted the general. Hold your tongue, Brack. You king has spoken. Brack took a few steps back and bowed in apology. Forgive me, Lord Orm. Aquaman glanced sideways to look at his wife and Queen Mara, who was holding their son in her hand silently, before speaking up once more. General Brack, I will consider your counsel, but this is a most serious matter. I must give it more thought. The general and Orm bowed in respect as he left the throne with Mara following after him. Neither were aware of the silent stares which the two men were directing towards them. Over at the bedchambers, Aquaman was happily playing with his son, who gurgled cheerfully with a lock of his father's hair gripped in his chubby hands. He has quite a grip, said Aquaman with pride. Takes after his father, said Mara fondly. Aquaman noted his son getting tired and so laid him on the cradle to sleep peacefully. Look at him, so peaceful, so innocent. Mara, what kind of future am I making for our son? He walked away well deep in thought before Mara placed a hand on his shoulder with a look of concern. Whatever you decide, I'm sure that it will be the right choice, said Mara. Aquaman placed his hands on her cheeks. Will it? Mara took his hands in hers. Your hands, they are strong and noble. I would gladly place my fate in them. She kissed him before leaving to rest, while Aquaman looked back to his sleeping son and came to a decision. In the watchtower, some of the members of the Justice League along with John Johns were having a discussion about the recent event as Superman was having a conversation with the Admiral of the Navy. I understand your concern, Admiral, but lives were at stake. There was nothing else we could do. Superman was trying to come to terms about why the submarine wasn't returned along with the crew members. The Admiral is right, we should have never left that sub down there. Now it's in the hands of that madman, said Green Lantern with a frown. I would agree on the submarine thing, however I don't see Aquaman as a madman, but he's just being protective of his kingdom, despite having attacked the sub in the first place, said Zenko, with his fox mask hanging at the side, while Sigmas chirped from the hood. Zenko is right, Aquaman is simply taking his duties as a king rather seriously, in order to protect and preserve his kind, said Wonder Woman in agreement with the ninja. So who's going to protect us from him? Green Lantern walked away before they could answer. Naruto let out a sigh. Man, he's being a hothead right now. But I can't blame him though, those nukes are very powerful, and leaving them at where anyone can take them is a valid reason to be rather guarded. Then he recalled something as he turned towards Wonder Woman. Oh yeah, we didn't finish the talk about you getting a civilian identity. I recall talking about that when I came to see you over at San Francisco. Wonder Woman remembered that particular conversation, which was interrupted by that bank robbery incident. What are you all talking about? Asked Superman curiously. Naruto and Wonder Woman filled him on what's going. I see, we could ask Batman to help set up an identity for her and Starfire while we're at it. Sounds like a plan, let's contact Batman later to ask him about it, said Naruto. The team delved into trivial for some time. Naruto himself contacted Starfire to check on how she's doing and was happy to receive a positive response from the alien princess before going back to chatting with the others when the doors opened up for Green Lantern to pass through and he looked rather irate. Whatever he's mad about, it must be serious, said Kurama. I knew we couldn't trust that fishman. The sub's been stripped and the plutonium's gone, said Green Lantern angrily. Naruto frowned at that. He wasn't really expecting to hear anything like that. And you think Aquaman is responsible? Asked Wonder Woman. Who else, princess? We gotta go back to Atlantis and get some straight answers. Superman then spoke far as he was standing a bit farther from them. I don't think you need to go to Atlantis, as Aquaman is not there right now. What makes you say that? Asked Naruto curiously. Superman pointed at the large holo screen for them, Snapper car reporting on the news. According to eyewitness accounts, Aquaman enforced his way past the guards and into a closed session of the World Assembly. But as to why he's here and what he wants, we'll have to wait for further development, said the reporter. We need to get over there and make sure that there won't be any problems, said Superman. Green Lantern rolled his eyes at that. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that there are already problems down there. The group quickly boarded the Javelin and flew down to the Earth, where they quickly made their way over to the World Assembly past the media and into the conference room, where they saw the world leaders were yelling at Aquaman, who looked very annoyed with everything in general. Aquaman. Superman called out to the King of Atlantis. I gave them a chance for peace, and this is their answer, said Aquaman with a frown. Please, these things take time. I've wasted enough time. Aquaman began to walk past them. Superman is right, you can't expect everything to be resolved instantly. Negotiation takes time and patience to solve the issues, said Wonder Woman. A lot of good it did for me here. Aquaman roughly shoved past Diana for Naruto to catch her as he frowned at the king behind his mask. A real Prince Charming, said Green Lantern sarcastically with a ninja nodding agreement. He's more of a hothead than I thought at first, probably even more than that Raikage, said Kurama with a frown. Let's go after him, he still needs to answer for the missing plutonium. Green Lantern went after him while the others soon followed. They were almost at the entrance when suddenly they heard a loud explosion, followed by screams of panic which made hurry outside, only to be shocked upon seeing Aquaman laying on the ground with the side of an explosion nearby. What just happened? Naruto suddenly caught sight of someone on the rooftops before running away and began to suspect that the person was the one responsible for attacking Aquaman. He was about to go and investigate when he heard his name being called. "Come on Zenko, we need to get him medical attention now." Superman carried Aquaman in his arms and immediately flew towards the hospital, with the others following after him. Naruto wanted to pursue the mysterious assassin, but he chose to follow them just in case his help is to be needed, so he had Sigmas transform to ride on towards the hospital. And following the explosion, members of the Justice League rushed Aquaman to Metropolis Medical Center. There are still no reports on his condition, appears to be critical, possibly fatal. This news was currently being watched by the soldiers of Atlantis, particularly General Brack, and are visibly disturbed at what has happened to their king, aside from being surprised that he was even there to begin with, as he told no one of his excursion to the surface. "We cannot allow this treacherous attack to go unpunished." They turned towards the voice and were surprised to see that it was Orm who was currently holding the trident, which is the symbol of kingship and supposed to be held by Aquaman. "With all due respect, Lord Orm, you are in no position to give that order," the king said. Brack. "The king may be dead and the prince is still an infant. But even so, the laws of succession must be respected. The prince will take control once he's come of age, but in the meantime this outrage must be avenged." "Orm, did you hear?" Everyone turned to see Mara standing in the room with an expression of worry in her eye. Orm went over to embrace her in comfort. "My dear Mara, all of Atlantis mourns your loss." Mara pulled away in mild surprise. "You speak as if he'll never come back." She expected Orm to be more hopeful for his brother's health and safe return. "I pray he will, but who knows what the surface dwellers will do to him." Mara felt unsure of it all. She saw for herself how the heroes carried her husband away to be treated. Surely they're trying to help him. Meanwhile, at the Metropolis Medical Center, Naruto and the others looked through the window into the operation room, where the doctor and nurses were attempting to treat Aquaman, but things were not looking too good, as they have no idea as to how to treat an Atlantean. The needles were incapable of piercing through his skin. The doctor left the room to talk to the heroes with a look of worry. "How bad is it?" asked Wonder Woman with concern. "Hard to tell, his physiology is unlike ours. It's unlike anything I've ever seen," said the doctor. "But can you help him?" asked Superman. "I don't know," the doctor was at the end of his rope on this situation. "Then maybe I can," a voice spoke up, and everyone turned to see Batman step out from the shadows. "Put him on a stretcher and follow me." The doctor complied and quickly ordered the medics to do just that as they followed the Dark Knight to another room where a large water tank was stationed. Superman carried Aquaman from the stretcher and placed him inside the tank. Then the doctor turned on the heart monitor to see that he has begun to stabilize, much to everyone's relief. "His vitals are stabilizing," said the doctor. "Be sure to maintain ceiling at 3.5%, said Batman. "But how could you possibly guess that?" "He's a fish out of water, doctor, saltwater." "But we can all breathe easier now that he'll be okay," said Superman. "But it also raises the question about who attacked him and why," said Wonder Woman. "I caught a glimpse of the attacker before he ran off. He was obviously targeting Aquaman," said Naruto with a frown. "And I doubt that the attacker is far from done with him," said Batman. "We still need him to explain about the missing plutonium," said Green Lantern with a frown. "We'll need to wait for him to wake up first." The man grunted in response and went to stand at the window to look outside, where he could see the media gathering at the entrance of the hospital, much to his annoyance. Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders and went to lean back against the wall, while taking out a book from his ninja pouch and proceeded to read. Batman took a glance at the title out of mild curiosity to see that it read out Tales of the Utterly Gutsy Ninja. Everyone waited patiently for some time until Superman called out to them. "He's coming around," said Superman. Green Lantern walked up next to him before the tank. "Good, now maybe we can get some answers." He started hitting the tank with a fist to wake up Aquaman. "What did you do with the plutonium?" Aquaman swam out of the tank and stood before them. "Plutonium? From the submarine, you stole it," said Green Lantern accusingly. Aquaman frowned in response. "My orders were to leave that vessel where it laid. And you expect us to believe that?" "He's not lying, Green Lantern," Naruto spoke up as he stood close to them. He had been listening closely and noted as such. "What makes you so sure?" asked Wonder Woman. "I have the ability to sense negative emotions, which also includes lying. What Aquaman said about leaving the submarine alone isn't a lie," Naruto explained. "But it doesn't change the fact that the plutonium is missing," said Green Lantern. "Which could only mean that someone took the plutonium without letting Aquaman know," said Superman. "That matters little to me. I'm more focused on finding the person who tried to kill me," said Aquaman angrily. "I've been meditating on that matter. I get the feeling that it wasn't a random attack, but more like Aquaman was being targeted specifically," said Naruto, having discussed it with Kurama while he was reading the book. "What do you mean?" asked Superman. Haven't you noticed how strange it was that the attacker knew where Aquaman was going to be when he took everyone by surprise with his unannounced appearance? Naruto turned towards Aquaman, which leaves me to ask if you told anyone about your coming here. No one besides my wife, as I had discussed with her about this, said Aquaman. That rules out anyone on the surface knowing about you coming here, which leaves one possibility, said Batman. You mean to tell me that one of my people hired an assassin to attack me? That's preposterous. Such an act is treason, which would result in punishment, said Aquaman with a frown. Maybe so, but the possibility is there. We shall get our answers once we capture the assassin and interrogate him, said Wonder Woman. He'll be sure to appear once the word of you still being alive is out, that's when we catch him, said Superman. The classic carrot and stick plan, I like it, said Naruto with a smirk, recalling how he often uses that type of plan during his pranking days. So what am I to do? Asked Aquaman. Stay here, John is a shapeshifter who will take your place to serve as bait to lure him out and prevent any further injuries to you, said Superman. So I'm to hide like a coward? Of course not, but the sooner we catch this guy, then sooner you can return to Atlantis and resolve any potent issues, Naruto pointed out. Do as you like. Soon night fell over Metropolis as the media are still waiting at the hospital, but now an ambulance is stationed at the entrance as Snapper Carr was broadcasting a nightly report with his news crew. Here at Metropolis Medical Center, we've just gotten word that Aquaman is about to be moved. Hospital sources say that he's going to be moved to an unnamed research facility for further treatment, said the reporter. Elsewhere, the members were stationed atop the rooftops of the buildings close to the proximity of the hospital to keep an eye out for the assassin. I hope that this plan works, said Wonder Woman through the comm link. It will, just keep your eyes open, Batman responded while looking through binoculars with Naruto and Superman next to him. Here he comes, said Superman. The hospital doors opened up as the medics wheeled Aquaman out on the gurney towards the ambulance, with the media taking pictures and asking random questions. The heroes kept a lookout for any oddities, which was soon noted when Wonder Woman spotted a male civilian hiding in between two parked cars and a mailbox and was aiming a rocket launcher towards Aquaman. Over there. Wonder Woman called out, though Naruto was quicker on the draw as he threw a kunai coated with wind chakra to slice through the firearm, which caused it to fire prematurely as the rocket exploded, grabbing the attention of everyone. Let's go. Naruto leapt off the roof with Superman as they gave chase after the man. They followed down an alleyway and into a sewer while closing up with the cover. Superman landed to take the lid when he was suddenly blasted by a large amount of voltage upon contact and was knocked back with smoke rising from him. Damn, he must have rigged the sewer lid to cover his escape. Naruto fired a chakra chain to pierce through the sewer lid and pull it out to toss to one side as he saw Batman and John arrive before dropping through it to land at the bottom, where he saw the assassin donning a red and gray bodysuit as he had gotten onto a motorcycle and rode away at high speed. NaruHarem, he's heading your way. Wonder Woman nodded in affirmation before leading off the rooftop to land on the street below and punch it to unleash a shockwave, causing parts of the sewer to cave, which forced the assassin to take evasive action as she ripped off a nearby grate to drop down to the sewer and land moments before the assassin, who skidded to a stop before her end of the road. I'll take a detour. The assassin fired a miniature rocket from his gauntlet towards the ceiling to bury her under the rubble before quickly turning round to ride into another tunnel. Wonder Woman broke out of the rubble to communicate about the assassin's movements. Meanwhile at the hospital, Aquaman was getting more impatient by the minute as he waited for news of the assassin's capture by the heroes, while Green Lantern stayed behind to keep guard until finally reaching the limit of his patience as he stood from his seat and approached the doorway where Green Lantern stood before it. What's taking so long? I must return to Atlantis, said Aquaman. Sit tight, Your Highness, we'll tell you when it's safe to go, Green Lantern responded. Aquaman turned to return to his seat when he suddenly spun round to punch Green Lantern hard enough to knock him out. You presume too much, then he left the room with no further hindrance. Back at the sewers, Batman could hear the assassin approaching in his direction and quickly fired his grapple gun to rise to the ceiling whilst leaving several spiked mines floating in the water. The assassin passed over them for the motorcycle's tires to be destroyed, which caused him to fall off whilst the bike exploded mildly. Batman walked up to him and spoke in a tone of seriousness. Don't move. The assassin refused to give in as he tossed a smoke grenade and used the temporary distraction to make his escape. He located a ladder nearby and climbed up to the top and underneath a green van. He opened a hatch at the bottom of the vehicle and climbed through to seat himself at the driver's seat before quickly driving away. He spotted Superman giving chase and increased speed to escape from the Man of Steel. However, he forgot that there was another hero who is none other than Naruto, who was standing in the middle of the street and waited for the van to approach his position. He caught sight of the vehicle and waited for it to get close before forming a one-handed hand sign to trigger seal tag to unleash a powerful burst to tip it over to the side and skid to a stop inches away from him. Show off, Kurama muttered. I saw this in a movie and wanted to try it out, it was cooler than I thought Naruto with a foxy grin. Kurama simply rolled his eyes at his partner's antics. Superman flew over to the van and wrenched the door out of its hinges before yanking the assassin out of the vehicle. Okay, I give up, said the assassin. Alright Deadshot, why were you trying to kill Aquaman? Asked Superman. Gee, why would a hired gun try to shoot somebody? Could it be that someone paid me to? Deadshot responded sarcastically. Naruto's sweat dropped due to the fact that the mercenary was making a point. Who? Asked Wonder Woman as she along with Batman and John caught up with them. Oh come on babe, you know I can't tell you that professional ethics. But then again, if you make it worth my while, Deadshot chuckled. Wonder Woman frowned darkly at the implication of his words, and she wasn't the only one. The hand placed on Deadshot's shoulders, and everyone turned to see that it was Naruto. Allow me to have a short word with him. The ninja pulled him away a short distance. So what does a ninja wannabe have to say to him? Anything he was about to say froze in his throat as he felt his body becoming heavy and it was getting hard for him to breathe. Deadshot looked at Naruto and wished he hadn't as the ninja had taken off his mask to reveal red slitted eyes which was staring into his intently as if it was inaudibly telling him that he was his next meal. And is he hallucinating, or is there a giant fox looking over his shoulder with the same intentions? Naruto leaned over to whisper into his ear in a deep voice, as if growling like an animal, are you still going to play hard to get? The mercenary shook his head rapidly. Good, it would have been bad if you kept up with that attitude cause I really hate perverts. Naruto stopped releasing his killing intent and put his mask back on before shoving him back to the group. Batman and Superman were looking at him though as they had noticed the subtle changes in the mercenary, who is now apparently afraid of Zenko. Shelving it for later, they resumed the interrogation. So who hired you? Asked Batman. I don't know, I don't ask questions, said Deadshot. Then he looked over his shoulders and resumed sweating upon seeing the ninja spinning a kunai through its hoop with a finger as he was looking back at him. How were you paying? In gold, look over there. The mercenary gestured to the van for the others to see an open crate with golden coins and relics spread out on the ground. Batman went over to pick up one of the coins to examine it. Spanish doubloons, Batman spoke up. Where would they get coins like this? Asked Wonder Woman. In Atlantis, said John. Which means that the one who wanted Aquaman dead and probably the one who stole the plutonium from the submarine is an Atlantean, said Naruto with a frown. Then we've got to warn Aquaman, said Superman. Too late, Green Lantern landed before them, that royal pain in the neck is already gone, I couldn't stop him. Everyone became worried about what was going to happen next, and Wonder Woman worded it in the best way possible. Hera help him. Over at Atlantis, Orm was giving a speech in the throne room towards a group of soldiers who were swayed to his side, along with General Brack. My friends, now is the time for action. Now is the time for mighty Atlantis to rise up and strike terror into the hearts of its enemies, are you with me? Said Orm with the soldiers cheering in support of him. Orm. The doors were suddenly pushed open to Aquaman, much to the shock of the soldiers, as the king approached his brother. What treason is this? No treason brother, I thought you were. Orm spoke, but was interrupted. Ed? That's no reason to plunge Atlantis into a foolhardy war. I left specific orders. I'm only doing what you never had the courage to do. Enough. I'll hear no more, arrest the traitor. Orm simply smiled. You hear him. The soldiers immediately surrounded Aquaman and aimed their spears at him. What? Aquaman couldn't believe what he was seeing, his own people are betraying him. You're the traitor, you abandoned your people. Sold them out to the surface dwellers, look around you brother. Orm smiled evilly. I'm in charge now. Aquaman gritted his teeth in frustration as it has dawned upon him now. Superman and his companions were right about there being a traitor in Atlantis, but he never would have thought that it would be his own brother, even if he could be called that anymore. Aquaman looked at Orm in anger. He never would have even thought that his brother of all people would have betrayed him. He realized also that the mercenary must have been hired by Orm to assassinate him. Seeing his proved to him that Zenko was right all along. For years, I've stood in your shadow and watched while you led Atlantis to the brink of ruin. I'll stand no more, and neither will your generals, said Orm with contempt. This is a battle we should have fought years ago, but you betrayed us by siding with our enemies, said Brack. Aquaman gritted his teeth in rage at their words, not wanting to listen to any more of their nonsense. He pushed the soldiers roughly out of his way and lunged at the two to silence them painfully before restoring things to their proper order. However, Orm aimed the trident at Aquaman and fired a powerful blast of energy, which sent the rightful ruler flying back and crashed to the ground to lay there unconscious. Take him away, said Orm. The guards went to pick up Aquaman before dragging him out of the throne room. General Brack, ready your troops at once. Yes, Millard. Brack then left the room along with the remaining soldiers. Orm went to sit on the throne and smiled at the comfort it provides. Once his plans are successfully carried out, then he would be sitting on it more frequently as the sole ruler of Atlantis. He heard footsteps and turned to see Mara running up to him with a look of concern. Orm. They said that my husband has returned, is it true? Asked Mara desperately. Orm frowned inwardly at how close his plans were to being foiled and stood from the throne. I wish it so, but it was an unfounded rumor. Mara looked to the ground in depression. I tried to be strong, but without him she felt Orm place his hands on her shoulders. Don't worry Mara, I'll take care of you and your son. Those words confused Mara as she turned to look at Orm. My son. I have already taken the precaution of placing him under my protection. Mara took several steps away from Orm with a growing sense of fear before running into the private chambers and approached the cot where the baby was sleeping, only to gasp in horror upon seeing that he wasn't there. Orm approached her from behind. These are dangerous times Mara, we can't be too careful. Where is he? Asked Mara worriedly. The prince will come to no harm as long as you cooperate. How could you do this? I assure you, I am only doing what is best for Atlantis, said Orm before walking away. Mara could feel it in her heart that this is all wrong and wished that Aquaman would appear to make everything right again. Meanwhile, Naruto and the other members of the Justice League were aboard the Javelin and moving through the water as fast as they could to meet up with Aquaman to warn him about the plot against him. We're almost there, Atlantis is just beyond that reef ahead of us, said Wonder Woman. Don't expect them to welcome us with open arms, said Green Lantern. Set the ship down here, maybe we can slip through their defenses, Superman suggested. Boom. The ship suddenly shook from the shockwave of an explosion. They looked ahead to see one of the Atlantean warships, along with a squad of Atlantean soldiers riding on water bikes. It's too late, they have already seen us, said John. I doubt that's the only thing we're late about, said Naruto, once more activating the jutsu to breath underwater. If they want to fight, then they got one. Green Lantern stood up with his ring glowing with energy. Wonder Woman placed a hand on his shoulder to stop him. Wait. Remember the reason why we came here? Green Lantern frowned but complied nonetheless. They all exited from the Javelin and went to confront the Atlantean soldiers as Superman went to speak. Hold your fire, we come with an urgent message for your king, said Superman, but the response received was in the form of cannon fire. Green Lantern was quick to defend by using his ring to form a shield which deflected the incoming projectiles. There's your answer, Green Lantern retorted before he scattered to engage the hostile soldiers with the rest. Naruto was swimming away from one of the soldiers who was firing at him with an energy rifle as the ninja swam round a corner, with the soldier going after only for his eyes to widen upon seeing a golden chain ahead, which knocked him off the water bike. Naruto popped up from behind a rock while smiling mischievously behind his mask before going to assist the others. John was also being pursued by one of the Atlantean soldier when he suddenly stopped and waited for the soldier to get closer before turning intangible for him to pass right through before reverting and reached out to grab the soldier, then pulled him off the water bike for it to crash into the rocks. Green Lantern was alternating constantly between forming shields to defend against the torpedoes being fired at him and launching concussive blasts of energy to knock the soldiers off their water bikes. Wonder Woman was evading the shots being fired at her and reflecting several to destroy their modes of transportation, but she was unaware of one bearing towards her from behind. He was about to fire a torpedo when something wrapped around his neck and yanked him off the water bike, and the next thing he saw was a fist barreling for his face, and there was pain followed by darkness. Wonder Woman looked back to see a knocked-out Atlantean soldier floating to the seabed, and Naruto was there, which gave her an idea what happened and nodded in gratitude, with the ninja responding with a thumbs up. Suddenly they were assailed with a volley of projectiles from overhead, and they looked up to see the Atlantean warship approach and opened fire once more with their turrets. Superman went to pick up a large piece of rock from the seabed and used it to grind against the undercarriage of the warship to rupture a hole, causing it to sink to the bottom of the sea. Well, that takes care of them, now to head over to Atlantis, said Naruto. This way. Superman took the lead with the others soon following after him. It didn't take them very long till their destination was within their sights. There it is. They swam closer when suddenly hidden cannons revealed themselves from within the reefs and launched multiple gray spiked cannonballs in their direction, but they were able to avoid them. Not even close, Green Lantern scoffed at the attempt, but Naruto wasn't fooled at this, and his suspicions were soon proven true as the cannonballs collided with each other to trigger powerful explosions which knocked them around. They depth charges, said John before being knocked away by another explosion. Damn, this is not looking good. Naruto grunted from another explosive shockwave. You better think of something fast or we're done for, said Kurama urgently. Naruto's mind raced for an idea to get himself and the others out of the situation, but the explosions proved to be too much as they were knocked to the seabed and laid there unconscious. He later opened his eyes to see that he was on his knees and hands were handcuffed to his back and noticed that he was wearing some sort of headgear which was sending jolts of electricity into his brain, making it hard for him to focus properly. He looked to see that Superman and the others were in the same situation before looking ahead to see a man in regal clothing along with the Atlantean soldiers. Worthless surface scum, said Orm with loathing. Naruto immediately frowned behind his mask as he sensed the hatred and negativity within him and suspected him to be the one behind all this. Where's Aquaman? Asked Superman, albeit struggling to speak. I thought your kind already took care of him. No, he came back here, Wonder Woman calmly refuted the claim. We came here to warn him about a plot against his life, an Atlantean plot, Superman continued. Naruto noticed a twitch in the man's eye and his suspicions became clear. Lies and deceptions. Orm pointed the trident at Superman and blasted him with enough energy to knock the man of steel to the floor. I consider this incursion as nothing less than an act of war. You will execute it as enemies of the crown, then I will wipe out the surface world forever. That settles it, he's the one who set this all up and is hiding the truth while using us an excuse to attack the surface, thought Naruto as he glared at the man. Then he noticed someone above glanced to see that she was a red-haired woman dressed in royal clothing along with a crown, and he noticed a look of worry in her eyes before being dragged away along with the others. The guards dragged the League members into a chamber and shackled them to the walls before exiting with a screen door sealing them inside. One of the soldiers pulled a lever and water began pouring, giving them an idea of what was going to happen. They tried to free themselves, but the shackles held strong. John, can you phase free? Asked Diana urgently. No, can't focus, John replied, having already attempted to do so but failed. Me neither, these headgears must be some kind of synaptic discharger, said Green Lantern, who wasn't able to make any progress on his end. Wonder Woman looked down to see that the water has already risen to their knees, then we'll drown. Over at the docking bays, General Brack was currently in charge of preparing the soldiers and other weapons of war for the upcoming engagement with the surface dwellers, as he had desired all these years and was denied due to Aquaman's refusal to go into war with them until now. He saw Orm approach while on a water bike and bow along with his men in respect. Your troops are almost ready to depart, Millard, said Brack. Proceed, General, I will join you after I attend to some unfinished business, said Orm. Of course, Millard. Orm then rode away with the general resuming command. They were unaware that someone had been eavesdropping on their conversation, and it turned out to be Mara, who was frowning at what she had heard. She had been suspecting that Orm is up to something which he doesn't want her to know about, and apparently General Brack is also involved. Their plans must have something to do with her husband and son being missing, and the surface dwellers must know something he doesn't want anyone to hear, hence why he's executing them so soon. Mara came upon an important decision and began making her way through the hallways when suddenly a voice called out to her. Excuse me, but are you the wife of Aquaman? A male voice whispered out. Who's there? Asked Mara while looking around for the source of the voice. Please calm down, miss, I'm one of the surface dwellers and I'm here to rescue my friends. Then do you know of what happened to my husband, and is it true that there's a traitor in Atlantis? Asked Mara. We suspect that he was captured the moment he arrived by the traitor whom I now suspect to be Orm, but we can explain later as my friends don't have much time left, said the voice urgently. Very well, I will take you to where they are. Mara rushed over to where the League members were being held and arrived only to gasp upon seeing that the chamber was almost full and the members were holding their breath for as long as they can. Oh no, they'll drown at this rate. No, they won't. The guards were taking bets about which of the heroes would drown first when they suddenly felt something grab the sides of their heads and forcefully smash them together, sufficiently enough to knock them out. Mara was momentarily surprised but quickly snapped back into focus and ran over to push the lever which drained the chamber of the water before opening the barrier. It was at that moment that a figure appeared, revealing to be Zenko, much to the surprise of everyone who turned to the one shackled that disappeared in a puff of smoke. I should have known, you created a decoy and went into hiding, said Green Lantern. Yeah, I used a transparency jutsu to hide myself while having a shadow clone take my place, so that I can sneak in and rescue you, and I was lucky enough to meet Aquaman's wife along the way, Naruto explained, as he took out a kunai from his ninja pouch and channeled wind chakra through it to increase sharpness before cutting through their shackles, while Mara unlocked the other shackles with a key. Which she took from the guards. Not to mention that you're using a jutsu for its true purpose, unlike that perverted toad sage, said Kurama with bemusement. Tell me about it, thought Naruto while rolling his eyes at the memory. Mara then spoke, your companion told me that someone had betrayed my husband and he suspects Orm to be the traitor. His actions certainly prove it, probably explains why we were attacked and that Aquaman is nowhere to be seen, said Superman. We'll need to take the queen to safety, then begin our search for Aquaman, said Wonder Woman. And my son as well, Orm has hidden him somewhere when all this began, said Mara with a look of worry. Naruto clenched his fists in anger and made up his mind to punch Orm real hard for her. Elsewhere, Aquaman was struggling to free himself from the chains which shackled him to a rock face precariously over a crevice where underwater lava flowed along at the bottom. He had woken up to find himself there and since then struggled to break free so he can return and make Orm and Brack pay for their betrayal. Enjoying the view. Aquaman looked up and glared at Orm, who was approaching on a water bike with a smile of arrogance. Getting rid of me won't make the people of Atlantis serve you, said Aquaman. I know, that whole lineage thing can get messy. Orm got off and walked over to the front of the vehicle. Fortunately, I have a solution. What do you mean? Orm opened up a compartment and reached in to bring out a red bundle which started crying. Aquaman recognized the cry with a sense of dread, which solidified when Orm revealed the bundle to be his son No. Naruto and the others were currently accompanying Mera through the city towards the throne room to make sure that she was safe, but he couldn't help but admire the sights of the city as they walked along a bridge. It's the very first time in his life that he's in a place like this, no doubt that something like this exists back in the elemental nations. Wow, this place is amazing, said Naruto as he continued to look around. You're right, Zenko, it's no wonder why Aquaman protects it so passionately, said Diana. Unfortunately, there are those whose ambitions would destroy it, said Mera. Naruto's eyes suddenly narrowed as he swiftly positioned himself in front of the group and took out a handful of shuriken which he channeled wind chakra through before throwing them. The others were about to question him when they saw the projectiles slice through the firearms of the soldiers who were positioned ahead of them and were about to fire until Naruto intercepted them. There's a couple more coming up from behind us, protect the queen, said Naruto before facing the ones in front of him and sped through a set of hand signs wind style. Wind cannon. He reared an arm back before thrusting forward to launch a blast of wind to knock the soldiers off the bridge and into the water below them. He looked back to see Superman and Wonder Woman defending Mera from the shots being fired at them, and Green Lantern formed a battering ram to knock the soldiers off the bridge as well and into the water. I am grateful for your help, said Mera. No thanks necessary, but we need to hurry since they're targeting you now, said Superman. Indeed, this fight is far from over, said John. The group continued on their way, but with more haste in their steps, as the situation was getting direr by the minute. Aquaman growled in anger as he watched Orm hold his beloved son before him, with the chains being the only thing preventing his brother from suffering the worst pain imaginable for this dastardly act. The pity, the prince will be yet another innocent victim of the surface dwellers' aggression, said Orm as he watched Aquaman struggle against the chains sadly. That would also make me the rightful heir to the throne. Orm went to stab a dagger into the rock face and hung the child next to Aquaman before swimming back to the water bike with the trident in hand. You won't get away with this, said Aquaman. That's wishful thinking, brother, now I'll be off to avenge your deaths against the surface dwellers. Orm aimed at the bottom of the rock with a blast from the trident to send it sliding towards the lava below with Aquaman and his son in tow, then he smirked evilly before riding away. Orm. Aquaman roared out in outrage of it all. He began to struggle more than ever before, so he freed himself to save his son as the boulder drew closer to that lava. He managed to rip one of the arms free of the chains before pulling on the other one, but time was running out for him and his son. Aquaman took out the triangular belt buckle and hacked at the remaining, but realized that it won't shatter in time, so he made an unchangeable decision as he raised the buckle and brought it down with a roar towards what he was aiming, which wasn't the chain. Back in Atlantis, the group had managed to secure the throne room before going out to search for Aquaman and the baby, while Wonder Woman and Green Lantern guarded Mera, and Naruto was using Sage Mode. At first he wasn't detecting their presence within, but now he has but noticed something wrong and called out right as Superman and John flew into the throne room to give their report. Guys, we need to get a medic in here right now, there's something wrong, said Naruto urgently. Everyone looked at the ninja in confusion and were about to ask why when they heard the doors open and turned to see Aquaman walk in with the baby held in one arm. Mera went to embrace them in joy, but they gasped in horror upon seeing the bloody stump of his left arm, which gave everyone an unpleasant idea of what might have happened. Your hand, Mera muttered in worry. Aquaman didn't respond to that immediately and speak sternly despite the excruciating pain, whereas Orm. Everyone stared in silence as they watched a surgeon work on Aquaman's left arm by surgically attach an artificial limb to replace the one lost. They had gotten the full story of what had happened, which earned their respect, especially Naruto, who has many people like him who were ready to do just about anything to protect their loved ones. They even recalled how the fourth Raikage sacrificed his own hand when fighting Sasuke and yet was still capable of going up against Uchiha Madara along with the other Kages despite the lack of an arm. I can't believe it, his own hand, said Superman in wonder. I told you he was a madman, said Green Lantern. Naruto turned to glare and spoke sternly. Protecting a loved one isn't madness, Green Lantern. Parents treasure their children far more than anything in the world, that they would offer up their very lives so that they could live on. I've met many who went to such measures, even my mom and dad sacrificed their lives to protect me on the very day I was born. So I advise that you don't go calling such people mad. Green Lantern looked away but couldn't help but feel ashamed of what he said as he recalled how protective and caring his parents were, seeing the truth in the ninjas, but he and the others noticed something else in Naruto's statement. So he's an orphan, and such at a young age, thought Diana as she stared at the blonde ninja. Now we need to figure out what's Orm's next phase of his plans, said Naruto thoughtfully. There was the sound of beeping from Superman which he opened the channel to communicate, then Batman's voice was heard from it. Superman, a situation has developed over at the North Pole. Thermal readings show temperatures increasing rapidly. If that continues, the ecological effects could be catastrophic, said John with concern. Then we should go check it out, said Green Lantern. But what about the crisis here? Asked Wonder Woman. There may be a connection, said Aquaman, piquing the interest of the others. What do you mean? Asked Superman. It's the Doomsday Thermal Reactor, we designed it to create a polar meltdown. What? Green Lantern was taken aback by what he just heard, and he wasn't the only one. I had it built as a weapon of last resort to protect Atlantis should the surface world ever attack, but I never armed it. Then Orm must have, using the plutonium stolen from the submarine, said Green Lantern. If the polar cap melts, our world will sink beneath the waves. Everything will be destroyed, Orm must be stopped, said Superman. And he will be. Aquaman got off the table to reveal the artificial limb, which happens to be a hook. I'll see to it personally. But not without help, and before you complain, this situation involves the surface world, which means that we are to work together on this, said Naruto sternly before the king of Atlantis could refute. Very well then, just don't get in my way. A real friendly one, isn't he? Asked Kurama sarcastically, getting a shrug from his partner. The group had set out for the North Pole with Green Lantern carrying Naruto within an energy bubble from his ring. As he flew along with the others, Aquaman decided his own method of traveling being by swimming, with speeds being nothing to scoff at. Batman had contacted them earlier to inform them that he was currently en route to their destination. They looked ahead to see several Atlantean warships ahead and apparently had seen them approach as General Brack pointed his sword towards them and called out a command. Soldiers of Atlantis, attack. General Brack commanded. The soldiers charged at the heroes on their water bikes and firing rapidly with their rifles. Here we go again, said Green Lantern. Yeah, but this time we're doing this for keeps. Drop me off here, said Naruto. Green Lantern dissipated the energy bubble for Naruto to drop towards the ocean and land atop its surface before dashing at the soldiers. He dashed from side to side to evade the shoots fired at him while using a chakra-coated kunai to deflect a few before weaving through a set of hand signs. I wanna see your reactions to this. Water surfing strike. He stomped the surface to channel his chakra through it to form a large wave crashing towards the gobsmacked soldiers as he proceeded to ride on top of it with a loud cowabunga dudes. The soldiers attempted to steer away but were too late as they got caught in the wave and were knocked off the water bikes. Haha. Total wipeout. He turned around to see another squad of soldiers heading his way and firing their rifles. Guess they want some too, eh? He weaved through another set of hand signs water style. Try water dragon jutsu. 3 mass columns of water shot up into the air and took on the shape of serpentine dragons before Naruto mentally commanded them to attack as the dragons lunged at the soldiers with loud roars and repeatedly slammed into them. The Atlanteans couldn't believe what they were witnessing and experiencing. A surface dweller is using the very element that they live in against them. It's unprecedented. Watch how you're throwing those jutsu around, you won't know what's ahead of us, said Kurama. Sure, spoil my fun, why don't ya? But you got a point though, thought Naruto before moving on to engage the next squad. Green Lantern flew low above the water's surface as he projected a wall of energy ahead of him to defend against the bullets and at the same time serve as a battering ram to smash through the soldiers' vehicles and knocking them into the water before changing into a crossbow to fire bolts of energy at the water bikes to impair their functionality before moving on ahead. Wonder Woman and John were working in tandem as they used the lasso and ghost-like power respectively to knock the soldiers into the oceans and were gradually gaining the advantage. Superman was currently occupied with disabling the turrets from the warships and was almost blasted by one of them. Superman, the glaciers are already starting to melt, said Batman as he piloted the Batplane over the icy region towards their location. I know, but we're kinda busy here at the moment, Superman replied while using his heat vision to melt the remaining turrets before looking around and noticed an oddity. Where's Aquaman? I sense that he's moving away from the battlefield and in direction of the icy mountain ahead of us, said John after using his telepathic power. That must be where the thermal reactor is. Green Lantern and Zenko, I need you two to meet up with Batman and head on over there to provide backup. Got it, said Green Lantern. I'm on my way. Naruto flipped off the water dragon which he was riding on to land on the ice before running in direction of where he was sensing Aquaman's energy signature. Meanwhile, Aquaman had already arrived at the mountain and went in through the entrance. He could see droplets of melted ice falling around him and a gradual rise in the temperature as he carefully walked across the iced bridges till he arrived at the room where the thermal reactor was situated. He walked up to the control panel and was about to input the command to shut down the reactor. Easy ttt. Arg. Aquaman was struck from behind by a blast which came from a visibly annoyed Orm, who had apparently been alerted of his arrival, along with the surface dwellers. Orm approached the downed Aquaman with the trident radiating with energy. "Apparently I underestimated you, brother, a mistake that I won't make again." He raised the trident over his head and brought it down to finish his brother. Aquaman quickly jerked to the side to avoid the killing blow, then kicked Orm strongly in the chest to knock him back so as to quickly recover to his feet before engaging him in close combat. Aquaman made good use of his new artificial limb to contend against Orm and the trident, as he would use the hook to redirect or block any incoming strike, due to being well versed in the art of wielding a spear before losing his arm, which is not to say that Orm wasn't as competent with the trident in hand. Aquaman blocked a stab, then countered with a knee strike to the stomach to make Orm stumble back in pain, then followed it up with a nasty right hook to the face, which knocked him down to the ground before approaching with a frown. "It's over for you now, Orm," said Aquaman sternly. Orm glared back with hatred. "You're right and you've lost." Orm quickly picked up the trident and fired a blast at the thermal reactor's control panel, effectively destroying it much to Aquaman's shock. "The tide is against you, brother, the reactor can't be shut down." He fired a blast with Aquaman jumping out of the way before engaging him in combat once more. Aquaman continued to lay on the pressure on Orm as chunks of ice fell around them, enticing him to defeat his brother quickly so he can figure out a way to shut down the reactor before it's too late. He saw Orm about to fire another blast from trident and quickly moved forward and hitting it to the side to disrupt its aim and strike the ceiling overhead before punching him to the ground. He lunged to knock him unconscious, but Orm launched another blast which sent him flying out of the room and almost fell into a bottomless pit had he not stabbed his hook into the icy wall. Orm appeared on the edge with a smirk on his face. "This time, brother, I will make sure that you die." He took aim with the trident and was about to fire. Whack. He felt something hard hit the back of his head, which made him turn around to see one of the surface dwellers with a mask standing there with his arms crossed. "Hey buddy, want you have a round with me?" asked Naruto while doing a come here gesture. "Worthless surface come, I'll eliminate you along with your kind," said Orm as he turned towards Naruto with the trident pointed at him. "Let's skip the monologue and just get down to the fight, let's go Byako." Naruto held out his hand for a spear with two side blades pointing down like an upside down crescent before taking a stance. Orm charged towards the ninja and launched a stab. Naruto parried the incoming strike, then took a step forward to attack with a jab of his own, but it was parried, to which he used the momentum to twirl it around for a swing. Forcing Orm to back away with Naruto somersaulting forwards to maintain closure and launched another swing for it to be blocked again, then quickly swung the butt end of the spear the right side of Orm's chest. This angered the treacherous Atlantean to retaliate with ferocity as he constantly attacked Naruto in an effort to gut him, but the blonde ninja was rapidly defending against the strikes with short dashes and twirling Byako to deflect. "Damn worm, perish for the sake of Atlantis." Orm began firing blasts of energy to destroy the enemy before him. Byako, calling forth the cleaving wind. Naruto proceeded to twirl the spear around himself with great speed, which formed rings of razor-sharp purple winds to slice through the incoming blasts before dashing forward in a zigzag pattern to evade more of the shots fired his way till he was right in front of his opponent and struck with a chakra-enhanced uppercut to send Orm crashing into the ceiling overhead before falling down only to be sent flying by a blast of wind from a swing from Byako. "I promised myself to punch you hard for kidnapping Aquaman's child and making a mother worry so much, consider it a promise kept. The matters of Atlantis are of no concern to you surface dwellers," Orm retorted with anger. Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders. "In a way it's true, which is why I'm not using my full power to knock you around like a pinball. Plus your brother called dibs on beating you black and blue. What or why?" Wham. Orm was dealt a nasty right hook courtesy of Aquaman, who had climbed back out to the top and didn't waste any time going after Orm once more. Naruto chortled for a moment, then headed over to the thermal reactor where he saw Batman and Green Lantern already there. "How bad is it?" asked Naruto. "The controls are completely destroyed with no time to fix it," said Green Lantern. "I will have to go inside and manually shut it down," said Batman, surprising the other two. "Inside, but that's too risky," said Naruto. Batman turned towards Green Lantern. "Can your ring protect me?" Green Lantern looked at his ring for a moment before responding, "We'll find out." Then he used it to form a layer of energy to enshroud the Dark Knight from head to toe before he opened a hatch and went inside. "There they are, stop them from deactivating the reactor." Naruto and Green Lantern turned to seek a group of Atlantean soldiers enter the room and charged towards them with swords raised. "I'll cover you, just stay focused on your side," said Naruto before charging towards the soldiers while switching Byako out for Inazuma the Draconic 3-section staff. He held one end and swung it in a wide arc like a whip to force the soldiers back before performing a jumping roundhouse kick before rolling out of the way of a slash, then retaliated with another swing to bash a soldier's head strong enough to knock him out. Naruto saw a soldier rushing from behind to stab him in the back and quickly stepped sideways to launch a backhand to clothesline him to the ground. I'm ending this quickly. Come on, Inazuma. The draconic three-section staff glowed an orange aura as he charged towards the remaining soldiers and began lashing out at high speeds with ferocity to send them crashing into the icy walls, putting all into an unconscious state. The fight between Aquaman and Orm was getting more intense as the latter had tackled the former onto one of the ice bridges and was trying to impale him with the trident. Aquaman managed to divert the trident's path to embedding onto the ground next to his head and kicked Orm away to effectively disarm him of it. Aquaman approached to make sure that Orm stays down when said person suddenly lashed out with a dagger to inflict a wound across his chest, forcing him back as Orm swung the weapon about wildly, having lost all sense of reason. You don't deserve to wear the crown, I do. I will be the one to lead Atlantis to its true glory. Orm raved madly. In his rage, Orm failed to notice a part of the ice bridge crumbling beneath his feet until it was too late as he grabbed onto the edge with eyes wide in fear before looking up to Aquaman. Brother, please help me. Aquaman looked at Orm silently, then he reached out to pick up the trident, much to the latter's horror. I believe that this belongs me. Orm could no longer maintain his grip as he began to fall into the dark bottomless pit. No. Aquaman looked on without any emotion for some time before walking away to meet up with the others. Naruto and Green Lantern nervously waited as Batman was still inside the reactor and they haven't seen any change yet and more pieces of ice fell around them due to the temperature still increasing. Soon they noticed that the humming sound of the reactor was beginning to die down, signaling that the shutdown was successful. Batman soon emerged from the machine and landed on the ground before them. It's shutting down, you did it. Said a relieved Green Lantern as he retracted the energy into his ring. Batman shook his head. No, we did it. You're right, it was a team effort, said Naruto with a thumbs up. Quite surprising to hear a breeding type of person actually admit to something like teamwork, said Kurama. Aquaman then walked up to them. Then the threat is over. Later on, everyone had returned to Atlantis and were in the throne, as Aquaman had rounded up those that conspired with Orm, especially General Brack, who was currently pleading with the king that he and his men were forced to listen to Orm's order. Naruto rolled his eyes at the obvious lie and didn't even need Kurama's emotion-sensing ability to figure that as he had met those type of people back in the elemental nations and they were dealt with accordingly. Superman and the other League members were just as disgusted at the blatant lie. Apparently Aquaman had had enough of all this as he stood up from his throne to glare at them. Get them out of my sight. The loyal soldiers immediately complied with the order and jostled the betrayers out of the throne as Aquaman sighed to himself. I can only blame myself. My fear of the surface dwellers blinded to those I should have feared most and it cost me dearly. He looked at the hook replacing the hand he had lost. Green Lantern spoke up. Don't be too hard on yourself, maybe we've all misjudged. Maybe so, but all I have ever wanted is peace and security for Atlantis. After what's happened, it won't be easy, said Superman. I know, Aquaman turned towards Mera holding their sleeping child in her arms, but some sacrifices are worth it. Naruto smiled in nostalgia as he recalled the past Hokages and their common desire to protect the village just like he wanted to. He hopes that Aquaman would give the negotiation idea with the World Assembly another chance after everything has settled down, although he's suddenly having a craving for seafood as of now. Seriously? That's what's on your mind right now? Asked Kurama in disbelief. Ah, glad that's over with for the day, said Naruto, who was exiting from the publishing company while dressed in a business suit with a bored look on his face. He felt movement in his breast pocket and looked down to see Sigmas poking his head out to chirp an agreement. The blonde ninja had just submitted a manuscript of a series called The Chronicles of the Maelstrom, which is actually about the adventures which he had back at the Elemental Nations, with the first book being about the beginning of his ninja career to his mission at the Land of Waves, but made sure to change his name before turning it in. That's preaching to the choir. This kind of stuff puts me to sleep every time. Kurama let out a long yawn from his boredom-induced nap. Now that you're done, how about we get to the next matter at hand? Which is what? Asked Naruto curiously. Getting a new house, of course, this one that has nothing to do with rent along with a new ride. And what's wrong with the one we're living in as of now? Unless you're telling me that you've forgotten you have a female alien roommate living with us, we're rather lacking in a bit of elbow room, Kurama pointed out to the blonde. I'm well aware of that, Kurama, just because I didn't talk about it meant I had forgotten. I had sent a couple of disguised shadow clones to Las Vegas to win some money, although a few of them ended up being targeted by some mafia, in addition to the money made by the books. Need to get enough money not only for purchasing a new home, but also to furbish the new hideout we got inside the clock tower too, Naruto explained to the Biju. Good to know, so what now? First, we'll be heading over to a real estate agency. I've been browsing online for a house while you were taking your usual nap and was able to find a pretty good one. Naruto arrived at the real estate agency and went inside to meet with one of the realtors to discuss the matters concerning the purchasing of the house. There were exchanges on the final price at which it was to be bought, but it soon fell into Naruto's favor and made the payment to the agency's bank account before receiving the keys. The satisfied blonde walked out of the building and hailed a cab to transport him back to the apartment, then going inside the room upon sensing Starfire already at home. "Cory-chan, I'm back," Naruto called out as he shut the door and turned only to be embraced by Starfire, who had flown over from the living room upon hearing his voice. "Welcome back, friend Naruto, how was your day?" asked Starfire with a bright smile. "Good so far, delivered my manuscript to the publishing company and also got us a more permanent place for us to stay now," Naruto replied as Starfire floated away from him. "That's great news, so will we be moving today?" "Yup, I already got some of my clones moving the furniture and other things into it. We just need to pack our clothes and be on our way after finalizing a transaction with the owner of the apartment. Then I'll go and start packing right now." Starfire excitedly flew in direction of her room to do just that. Naruto himself went into his room and changed from his formal attire to a more casual outfit, being a red short-sleeved t-shirt and blue jeans with a pair of black and yellow trainers. Then he went on to pack his clothes into a traveling bag, as much as he wanted to simply seal them all away into a storage. Naruto doesn't want to arouse any kind of suspicions in his movements as a disguised civilian, and before long, they were on the streets and had hailed down a cab to take a seat inside of. "Where to, sir?" asked the driver politely. "Take us to 16th Avenue please," Naruto replied. "Okay then," the cab driver immediately transported the duo, although it took a while, they eventually arrived at their destination. "Here we are, sir. Thanks for getting us here, you can keep the change." Naruto handed over the fee with a little extra before exiting the cab of a happy driver with Starfire as they stood on the driveway of their new home, with the latter looking at it with excitement. They were looking at the house before them, with a garage at the front, as well as a solar panel was installed on the roof. There are several fully grown trees surrounding the duplex, and a red and gray brick pathway leading to the front door. "Are we really going to live here?" asked Starfire. "Yup, let's go inside to check out the interior," said Naruto. They went inside through the front door, which was already unlocked, to be rather impressed at the decors of the place, and saw the shadow clones having just placed the last of the furniture into the living room. They saw that the original had finally arrived and nodded in affirmation before dispelling themselves to transfer the memories over to him. According to the memories and from what he saw from the brochures, there are 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms with one being a one-half bathroom. There was also a fully furnished kitchen and a laundry room. He was suddenly snapped out of his thoughts when he heard Starfire call out to him excitedly. "Friend Naruto, come and see this." Naruto dropped his bag and went over to where he heard her voice, which happens to be on the first, where he found Starfire at a balcony and soon got the idea of what she wanted him to see, which was the breathtaking scenery of the city from where they are. The blonde ninja himself was getting some ideas concerning the greenery which he was seeing scattered all over the area and placed it at the back of his mind. "Everything looks so beautiful," said Starfire in wonder. "You're right, what say we celebrate our moving into our new home with a meal? Though we'll need to go grocery shopping first since I forgot to send my clones to do that when moving the things in, not to mention that there's a store not too far from here," said Naruto thoughtfully. "Then let's go, I can't wait to try out your cooking like always," said Starfire excitedly. This caused Naruto to feel rather conscious of himself, since he had always been used to eating instant ramen and at restaurants. How he learned to cook was by Itachi sometime after that incident with the ninja chefs. The owner saw the potential in him during the cooking match and figured it to be a waste if not taught, and so went ahead to do so. Naruto soon became surprisingly proficient in it, but still goes to eat at Ichiraku's from time to time. This was what led to his proper growth spurt during his 3-year training journey with Uraya, who had left him in charge of cooking duties once he found out. The duo made their way out of the house and were soon walking along the streets of their new home, whilst admiring the sights around them. They soon arrived at their destination, that is the supermarket, and went inside. Naruto was quick to note that they had quickly gathered attention upon entering, especially the males who were currently ogling at Starfire, and chuckled lightly when some of their wives elbowed them with a silent glare. He went to take a shopping cart before speaking to Starfire. "I'll go pick up the basic necessities, Cory-chan, so you can go look around and pick anything you might like," said Naruto fondly. "Okay Menma." Starfire walked away happily to do so whilst Naruto went off in another direction. The blonde took out a piece of paper from his jeans pocket to reveal a grocery list before to take the needed items. He picked up multiple fresh fruits and vegetables, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, bread, cereals, and beverages like soft drinks, fruit juice, etc. Naruto was passing through the book section while double-checking his list to make sure that he has everything when he glanced sideways and took note of a book at the shelf and read the title. The Guide to the Creation of 100 Dishes. Sounds interesting, I wonder what else I can cook if I bought this. Naruto took the book and began leafing through the pages with his interest growing with each one. Deciding to buy it, he turned towards the shopping cart only to bump into someone and stumbled backwards. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't watch where I was going. Oh, it's alright since I wasn't watching where I was. Oh, it's you again. A feminine voice spoke up, getting Naruto to look, and his eyes widened in familiarity. Barbara. Fancy bumping into you again, said Naruto sheepishly at the redeed. Same thought exactly, twice can be a coincidence, although it's as if the universe is trying to tell us something, said Barbara with a smile. I can see that you're doing some shopping. Yeah, stocking up the fridge of a new home which my housemate and I have just moved into today. Hey Menma. A voice spoke up, getting them to see Starfire running up to them whilst holding a large stuffed animal being a panda with an excited look on her face. Can I have this cute thing? And oh hello. This is my housemate, Corey Anderson. Naruto introduced the Tamaranian with her new alias, and this happens to be Barbara Gordon who I had met some time ago. Hello, it's nice to meet a new friend of Naruto, said Starfire cheerfully. Same here, said Barbara politely. We're done with our shopping, so let's go check these out with the store clerks. Naruto began wheeling the cart with the girls following and spoke once more. Maybe we could exchange phone numbers so we could keep in contact and hang out together once in a while. Please do, Barbara, it would be nice to spend time with you, said Starfire in agreement. Barbara looked thoughtful for a moment before responding with a smile. Sure, why not? I get the feeling that there would hardly be a dull moment with you guys. Cool. Naruto took out his phone and exchanged numbers with Barbara before doing the same with Starfire's as well, since she has yet to learn to properly use her phone due to the fact that she kept getting distracted by the games on the Google Play Store. To think of it, how goes it with your internship? Asked Naruto curiously upon recalling her reasons for being in San Francisco. Things are going smoothly for me, and I'm earning quite a lot from where I'm working temporarily, Barbara replied. Then we wish you the best at your place of work, Barbara, said Starfire politely. Thanks, I appreciate that, Barbara responded with a smile. They soon checked out of the store with Naruto and Starfire carrying bags of their purchased items in hand, with the same going for Barbara. They bade each other farewell with a promise to keep in contact before going their separate ways. Naruto and Starfire made their way back to the new house and loaded the items into the fridge, with the former proceeding to cook dinner as it was getting a bit late. He made a meal of curry rice with ice cream sandwiches for dessert. They were all relaxing in the parlor watching TV when Naruto sat up from the couch. What's the matter, friend Naruto? Asked Starfire curiously. I feel like taking a little night walk around the city for a bit, said Naruto. Can I come along too? It's okay, I won't be gone that long. Okay, I hope to see you soon. Naruto nodded in affirmation before going upstairs to his room and reached into one of the bags containing a scroll which has his gear within it. He quickly put it on before using a hinge to conceal himself before leaving the house. He walked casually into the more busy districts and walked into an alleyway and undid the jutsu after making sure that no one was around to see him before taking to the rooftops to begin his patrol. He had just leapt off the edge of yet another roof when he heard chattering on the radio from his earpiece and landed on the next one to tune in and hear more. Attention all units, we have reports of an active robbery on an armored vehicle over at the financial district. Please be advised that the suspects are holding a hostage, exercise great caution. Naruto frowned upon hearing this. Better head over there before things change from bad to worse. He locked onto one of the numerous Hiroshin seals which he had placed on multiple parts of San Francisco, as well as other countries he had been to, and disappeared in a yellow flash. He reappeared near a seal and his ears picked up the sound of gunshots a fair distance from where he was and headed over towards the source. There the blonde ninja saw the current situation. There were several police patrol cars with the policemen taking cover behind them and aiming their guns at the robbers, who were raiding the hijacked armor car, with two of them holding the driver at gunpoint to hold them at bay. Naruto thought about how to resolve this and suddenly smiled behind his mask upon recalling a certain memory. Don't try anything funny or this guy gets his head blown off, said the robber, firing a shot into the air as a warning. The police were indecisive in their next course of action to resolve the situation in fear of costing the life of the hostage. They were suddenly snapped out of their thoughts when something or rather someone landed on the streets between them and the robbers, with both sides recognizing who it is. It's Zenko, said a policeman in surprise and bit of hope at his sudden appearance. This also made the thugs rather tense, given the rumors and street cred which the hero has. Don't come any closer, Zenko, otherwise we'll drive a bullet through this guy, said one of the thugs whilst beeping his rifle. Naruto simply crossed his arms and tilted his head before speaking up. Which one are you talking about? All I see are dummies, you and your friends, plus the one made out of straw." This statement sent a wave of confusion amongst the robbers as they took a glance at their hostage, only to be welcomed with the sight of a human-shaped straw dummy with the English words on the face written dummy, and heard a whistle before looking to see their hostage with a copy of the ninja at a safe distance away from them. The moment they let their guard down was when Naruto swung into action as he threw a volley of shuriken highly sharpened with wind chakra to slice through the thugs' firearms like knife through butter, then lunged at them with a somersault to land in their midst as he landed on his hands before performing a 360 spin with his legs outstretched to knock a majority away from himself. Naruto heard footsteps approaching and twisted round to clamp his legs on the head of the attacking thug, then flipped to slam him to the ground, knocking him out. He then fired a chakra chain to wrap around the waist of the next thug before swinging him round to slam into the others behind him. "Why you?" A thug swung a fist to punch Naruto and smirked when it made contact, only to be taken by surprise upon him disappearing in a puff of smoke and revealing a thug in his place collapsing to the ground. He looked around frantically for the ninja, only to receive a blow to the back of his head and losing consciousness with Naruto having been behind the whole time. "They're getting away." One of the policemen called out for Naruto to turn around and see two remaining thugs attempting to run away with bags of money. He reached into his pouch to take out a kunai with a seal tag wrapped around the handle before he threw it to strike the ground near them and formed a hand sign to remotely activate the tag. The thugs suddenly collapsed to the ground as their bodies felt extremely heavy to the point of being unable to move. Soon enough they were all arrested and in the process of being transported to jail. "Thanks for the Zenko, who knows what could have happened if you hadn't shown up," said a policeman politely. "Glad to help, I'll be on my way to make sure that there aren't any more crimes going on tonight," said Naruto before running up the side of a building across the rooftops in a random direction. He soon stopped on one of the roofs and sat down before taking out his iPhone to research online. "I'll be needing some tech to set up in our base, just need to figure out where to get them without rousing suspicion." "How about the gray market which we've been hearing about? I'm sure we can acquire the things we need and few would bat an eye at it," said Kurama. "Good idea, buddy, I'll send some of my shadow clones out in Hinge to check things out, then we'll plan our next move," thought Naruto. Suddenly he felt a tug on his chakra and noticing that one of his Hirishin kunai is being used before realizing who it is must be Poison Ivy. "Let's go see what the matter is." He focused on the kunai and warped towards it in a yellow flash. Naruto found himself in a forest glade and didn't have to look far to see Poison Ivy sitting on a rock, surrounded by various plants which were moving around. The blonde ninja approached the reed with a friendly wave of the hand. "Hi there, Ivy-chan, it's been a while." Poison Ivy smiled in response. "Indeed it has," she could hear the plants whisper welcomes to the hero as he approached her. "So what's up, is there something the matter?" asked Naruto curiously. "As a matter of fact, there is. The forest which we're currently standing in possesses rare medicinal plants but is being raided by a supposedly legal lumbering company who claim to have a permit in correspondence to their job description," Poison Ivy explained. "I'm guessing you want me to find out what's really going on with them for any hidden illegal action, then expose them, right?" asked Naruto with his arms crossed. "That is correct given that you're a ninja as seen through your actions, plus you offered to help me as well." "Pretty much so as long as you don't endanger lives, and from what I've been seeing, you're doing just that. Bet Batman would be wondering why he hasn't heard a peep from you," said Naruto in bemusement. "Probably thinking that I'm plotting something," said Poison Ivy jokingly. "I can imagine that, anyways direct me towards where these guys are to see if they're legit or not." Poison Ivy pointed to the left. "Their encampment is about 2 kilometers away from here. The plant life is expressing great concern about the deforestation." "No need to worry your pretty hair about over this, I'll get to the bottom of all this." Naruto turned around and proceeded to leap through the trees, not noticing that Poison Ivy was blushing a bit from what he said about her hair. It didn't take the blonde ninja very long until he arrived at his destination as he landed on the branch of a nearby tree and took to scoping out the area. He saw that the perimeter was fenced in with watchtowers stationed at each corner while possessing spotlights. Within the area are multiple tents put up, large amounts of timber stacked up like pyramids, wooden crates, semi-trucks parked nearby. All in all, there was nothing out of the ordinary, but Naruto knew better than to take everything at face value. Like Kakashi-sensei often says, you gotta look underneath the underneath. Time to take a closer look. Naruto dropped down to the ground and slowly approached the encampment and making sure to stay out of sight of the spotlights, then he reached into his ninja pouch to take out a senbon needle, which he channeled lightning chakra through it before throwing at the nearest spotlight, causing it to flicker before turning. The sentry was quick to notice and went to check on it. "What's up with this thing? It was working just fine a moment ago." Now's my chance, Naruto rushed forwards under the cover of the night and leapt clear over the fence to land on the other side before hiding behind some steel barrels and peeked out to see two men walk towards the watchtower that he had disabled but frowned upon seeing what one of them was holding an assault rifle. Rather odd for something like that to be in a lumbering company. He brought out a camera and took a picture before putting it away and using the transparency jutsu to make himself invisible in order to explore the area. The non-visible ninja roamed around the place whilst making sure not to bump into anyone or anything which might attract attention. He was seeing more men carry around firearms and activities which hardly has anything to do with lumbering. He went inside one of the tents to see two men in business suits having a conversation and brought out a tape recorder just in case, then drew in close to listen and record. So we'll be transporting the next shipment to the Yakuza over at Tokyo in 2 weeks' time, so we better make sure it's sent there by then, said the first man. We got it covered, boss, but I gotta admit that this gig is turning out better than I thought at first, said the second man. Of course, selling drugs and weapons under the guise of a lumbering company is a perfect idea for our operation, plus selling wood to make an extra buck is a fine addition. Hey boss, think we would even be able to do dealings with guys like Black Mask and the Penguin? If we do things right, we could even be amongst the head honchos. Let's go make sure that the boys aren't mucking things up. The two men left the tent, leaving the opportunity to check out the documents on the table, and frowned as he read. Seems like an official from the nature preserve had been coming here several times to give them warnings, but has been repeatedly bribed to look the other way. There's even a list of gangs and triads which they've already supplied or are in the process of doing so, said Naruto as he read the documents. So are you going to take pictures of these too? Asked Kurama. I got a better idea in mind. Naruto took several blank sheets of paper nearby, then he took out an ink bottle and a brush which drew a seal on one side of the sheet and placed the other on one of the document's sealing arts. Tracer jutsu. He placed a finger on the seal and channeled chakra into it for the seal to disappear. He lifted the sheet and turned over to see a perfect copy of the original before proceeding to repeat this for the rest of the documents and storing the copies into a scroll. Think I should bust these guys or let the cops do it for us? Thought Naruto. Why not both? You could mess up their stuff and leave to the cops for easy picking, said Kurama. Not a bad idea, been a while since I pulled off a prank, thought Naruto mischievously. Sometime later, Naruto snuck back out of the area and soon made his way back to Poison Ivy, who had been waiting for him the whole time. You've returned, what is it that you found? Asked Poison Ivy. You were right about them not being who they claimed to be, take a look at this. Naruto presented the copied documents from his scroll for her to read and could see that she wasn't pleased in the least. How could they? Don't these people have any idea how much harm they're causing to nature just to collect money? Poison Ivy felt a hand on her shoulder and looked up to see Naruto staring at her and felt that he was smiling at her behind his mask. You don't fret anymore, I've already sent the evidence to the police as an anonymous informant, so they'll come over to shut the place down for good. Not to mention that I crippled some of their things should they try to pull a fast one. I see, I must be thankful for your willingness to help. Were it Batman, he would have tried to detain me first before going to investigate. Well, I can't deny that aspect of him. Even I could tell that he's been trying to figure me out, but he has a long way to go, said Naruto with a smirk. Poison Ivy giggled at that. It's getting rather late and I'll need to get back home. Don't forget to use the kunai to contact me again if you need any more help or you just want to hang out. Naruto did a two-fingered salute, then disappeared in a yellow flash before Poison Ivy could say a word and sensed the planned sadness upon his departure. He certainly is different compared to the all-serious Batman and the patriotic Superman. I could invite him to my little garden and learn more about him if possible. I'm sure my babies would enjoy his presence, said Poison Ivy thoughtfully. She got off the rock as a giant rosebud emerged from underground and opened up for her to enter before closing up and went back into the ground, then transporting her elsewhere. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.